Hey guys, G5 Cosmos here for Game 5 Smash. Before you go any further, if you're coming to this video in search of a way to load up your mods or get your mods on Smash Bros. For Wii U in the first place, I definitely recommend you check out the tutorial that I'll have linked in the card here before you watch this, because this is going a little further than that. So anyway, the reason I'm making this video is because in this recent tutorial that I just linked, I'm finding a lot of people are having, a lot of different problems, figuring some things out with the mods, but a lot of people are asking the same questions. And frankly, I'm getting tired of answering them in the comments, especially because most of the questions are answered in the video in the first place. But, not everyone can get the same thing out of the video, and there are some problems that I did forget to address in the video. So without further ado, I'm going to go through the most common questions that I was able to find in the comments, and I'm just going to answer them right here. So, okay, one of the most common ones that I've seen recently is people are having an issue where they get a freeze when they try to load up the game with mods. So they go through the loading process, or if they're using the other method, the kernel and SD caffeine, which is kind of the same thing anyway, and they get a freeze on the Smash Bros screen. I've had it myself when I've made the mistakes that can cause that. So the most common reason that you're going to have this is if your files aren't organized correctly. So you want to make sure that in the root of the SD card is that folder with the lots of numbers and letters and stuff, and in there is the patch. And it can go further if you're starting to put other files in there that don't belong in there, or basically if you're not building your own patch and you get a patch from somewhere, or a mod pack that's in patch format, if you do anything besides just put the patch folder from that in the long numbered folder, then you're probably going to have problems. So, and I'm going to touch on in the next question about what I mean by building and stuff like that. But let's see what the other reasons for that were. Okay, another common thing, I'm actually not 100% sure if this can cause the freezing issue, but I wouldn't be surprised if it could. Your SD card has to be formatted to FAT32. I did forget to mention that in the video. I apologize. I did not know of it at the time. You can check that by, I don't know if you're on a Mac what you do, but if you're on a Windows, you can just go to your SD card and right-click the SD card in your file browser and click Properties, and it'll tell you somewhere on there what it's formatted to, and then you have an option. You can also right-click it and hit Format and just make sure you choose FAT32. Another reason that you could be getting this problem is if you're not using the correct numbers in that folder, the long numbered folder with the letters and numbers in your root. For your region, as I've mentioned, there are different numbers for US, Europe, and Japan. And a lot of people have also asked if they're in Canada or if they're in Australia, what to use. I'm actually not sure. I live in the US, so I haven't had that. You're not going to brick your Wii. I don't think so. Certainly, if you if you try, if you just go through trying out the different folder names. So I encourage you to try them. I believe it's the PAL/Europe numbers if you're in Australia, and I believe it's the US/North America numbers if you're in Canada. But I'm not sure. I've never tried this. So there are only 3 folder names that I've ever seen. So even if you have to try Japan, just try all 3 of them. And if you're still having the problem, then that's not the cause of it. And also make sure, and I don't think this is really causing anyone the problem, because I think everyone's on this, but make sure that your Wii U, first of all, has to be updated to, I think it can even be 5.50, or 5.5.0, but 5.5.1, I believe it is. Whatever the most recent one is, just update your Wii U to the most recent firmware if you want to do this. There's no reason not to. And your Smash Bros. So there are mod packs that work with 1.1.5, but most of them now are for 1.1.6, which is the newest version of Smash. So basically what you have to make sure is that the mod pack that you're using is the one that's made for the version of Smash you're running on. It's probably the newest one, but just make sure that they're the same one, and then you won't have the problem. And the last of the solutions to this problem is something that I did not know about when I made the video, and I've never had any of these problems myself, so I can't really say which solution is more common. But this one is a rare case where it would actually not be the fault of you, the user, having done something wrong. But I've heard that sometimes loading won't function properly if you don't clear your Wii U's browser cookies before doing so. I'm not exactly sure how you do that. I assume just go into your browser and there may be some settings, or maybe you have to go into the Wii U settings. I don't know. If you're having trouble figuring this out and you think that's the cause of your problem, then I suggest you just Google how to delete Wii U browser cookies or clear Wii U browser cookies, because I've heard that that can interfere with loading, but I'm not sure. All right, moving on to what is either it's just been asked a lot. A very, 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 very common question is, how do I add textures? How do I add skins to these mods? How do I, if I take this, Falco skin or this Mario skin, how do I put it in and how do I mod it? And why don't you, Cosmos at Game 5 Smash, why don't you make us a tutorial on how to do that? Guess what? I don't know how to do it. Well, okay, so I know how to do it, but in other words, I know what to do, but I'm not skilled in the process or familiar with it. So it's not as simple as dragging and dropping files and putting them in folders like it was in Brawl and PM. You can't do that. Hopefully, at some point, there will be a way to do that. There are a couple of reasons why I don't think it'll ever be that simple, but regardless, you can't do that. If you want to add anything besides for what comes with a pre-built patch, you have to dump your game onto your computer. I don't know how to do that. There's some way that you take your entire Smash Bros. Game and you copy it to your computer or download it or something. And then you need a program called Smash4 Explorer, and you have to go through a complicated process of building a patch, and no one at Game 5 Smash knows how to do it, so please do not ask us. There are tutorials out, and I'm going to link some in the description. You can check smash4mods.com, and that has some tutorials. I found the tutorials that I was able to find for that particularly difficult to understand, especially since I don't know, it's not an easy thing to do. Certainly if you're not that familiar with more complex modding, I suggest you just look for a pack or find someone that you know well who is familiar with the process and ask them to build a patch for you. But if you want to add any skins or anything besides music, you can always add music. That's very easy. But if you want to add anything else besides music, any textures, any other kind of mods, you can't just add them by taking one file and putting it somewhere on your SD card. It needs to be built into one whole new patch with like those new resource files and everything, I assume. So yeah, and we don't know how to do that, so please don't ask. I wish I could help you with that. Believe me, if I knew how to do that stuff, I would have already had a tutorial out about it, but I do not know how. Alright, so moving on to some more questions. A lot of people are asking, can you use a USB flash drive, or does it have to be an SD card? It has to be an SD card. The exploit is even called SD caffeine. Whatever it does, I'm not sure how it works, but it finds the files on the SD card, and that's how it does it. So it needs to be an SD card. SD cards are very cheap, very easy to come by, shouldn't be a problem. And you can use this method, I guess answering another question, you can use an SDHC card, and the SD card can be, anything up to 32 gigabytes. I've heard that the Wii U doesn't read anything above 32 gigabytes, but honestly, 32 gigabytes is a ton of space for any of the mods that you want. You could put like 6 or 7 different entire patches on it, assuming you named the folder something besides patch so that the game wouldn't get confused. That's, I guess, another thing I should mention. Whatever the folder, you can't have more than one patch folder. Like, the game is going to look for the patch in the folder that says the word patch. So make sure that the ones you're using are called that. I don't think anyone's having that problem. So, no, you cannot use a USB flash drive. Other common question, how do you hack the 3DS? Does this method work for the 3DS? This method does not work for the 3DS. When I say this method, I'm referring to the loading.ovh loading method that I covered in the previous tutorial that was linked in the beginning of this video. It does not work on 3DS. There is a way to hack 3DS. I have no idea how to do it. Look up how to hack Smash Bros. For 3DS. If I knew how to do it, I'd be glad to make a tutorial for you guys, but I do not know how. Okay, another question, and just something that I should put out there. Since you can't add skins and add mods without building a new patch, where can you find a patch that's completely built already? Well, besides for that Smash 4 Modders pack, which I had linked in the other video, and I'll link here, but that one, it has a lot of the janky physics changes, and Marth's up throw killing at 0, and Ganon with Witch Time and everything. So, if you want something that's more acceptable for just actually playing the game the way you're probably accustomed to, you can check GameBanana.com, and GameBanana.com, it does have a lot of skins and textures that you would need to build into a pack, but it also has a lot of pre-built patches like Smash 4 or Smash Bros. Reloaded is one that's fairly simple, but it has some stuff, and they're going to add more stuff to it. And you can also check Reddit. Go to Reddit and go to the Smash Bros. Reddit and just search mods. And someone put up like a huge pack there with tons of character mods and skin mods and the Kirby every character selection icons and stuff like that. So Game Banana and Reddit are your best friends. The thing you want to look for is when you download a file, it should be a file that's like over 300 megabytes or over 100 megabytes at least, not a bunch of kilobytes. And that's how you'll know that it's a fully built patch and not just the files that you would put into Smash 4 Explorer to build a patch yourself. And if that's not enough for you, if you download a file and you unzip it and there's no patch folder, then it's not going to work. There's got to be a patch folder. I mean, obviously you have your own patch folder, but the ones that you download that are built already, they're going to have a patch folder. So that's a good way to tell. Another question, what will this do to my console? So if you have the mods, what is it doing to your Wii U? Well, the great thing about this is it's a temporary mod, and every time you turn your Wii U off and you turn it back on, whenever you turn it back on, your console is completely vanilla. The modding only happens, you know, when you do that loading thing and you get that stuff on your screen. That's temporary, and it goes completely away when you reboot your console. So if you don't want to play with mods, just turn your console off and turn it back on. Even if your SD card is still in, as long as you don't load up your game with loading, you'll be completely vanilla and you'll have nothing to worry about. And I guess as part of that, it's worth noting that anytime you want to use your mods, you have to be connected to the internet because you have to use loading every single time you want to load up mods or music on the game. So make sure you do that. It is one of the reasons why it's not super convenient for tournament use. However, lots of tournaments have access to Wi-Fi, so you can just connect every console. If you're a TO like myself, you can go to a tournament and just make sure you have the Wi-Fi password or whatever you need, and just connect every console to it and do loading. And it's actually not that hard of a process if you wanna load up on every setup. It's not as convenient as not doing it, but anyway. And the last question: are mods Wi-Fi safe? Well, it depends. Anything that's just like a texture or a skin and music, that's completely safe for Wi-Fi. I'm not sure if the textures themselves will actually even show up when you're playing on Wi-Fi. Certainly not for the person you're playing against. They won't see what you have, but you may see them, and it won't cause you any problems. Not that I've heard of, at least. And music, the opponent that you're playing on Wi-Fi will not hear the same music as you are, but there's no problem doing it. You can use music hacks and you're fine. So I hope that answers a lot of the questions that you guys have. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, please give it a like and share it out. And the best thing you can do really is to subscribe to us here at Game 5 Smash. And if there's anything else you want to know, I'm pretty sure I covered all of the really common issues. But let us know in the comments. And thanks again for watching, guys. Cosmos out.